The quiet man and the roar of the crowd. In a world obsessed with constant connection and external validation, there's a man who quietly exists on the periphery. Society, with its frantic need to label what it doesn't understand, often calls him broken, weird, or even antisocial. He's the one who politely declines a party invitation not because he's shy, but because his time is a precious commodity he'd rather spend on something more meaningful. He doesn't meticulously curate his life for social media, chase likes for a fleeting dopamine hit, or feel a surge of panic when his phone dies. He's not just living, he's thriving in a way that most people, caught in the endless cycle of seeking attention, can't even begin to comprehend. This man has unlocked a profound secret: true power comes from within. While everyone else is lost in the noise of a hyper-connected world, he's found a stillness that few ever discover. He understands that we've all been handed a script. A blueprint for normal living that involves an endless pursuit of external approval. Wake up and check what everyone else is doing. Fill every moment of silence with podcasts, chatter, or notifications. Always need plans, company, and validation from others to feel okay. This frantic dance is sold to us as a path to happiness, but it's really just a distraction from ourselves. The fear of self. What happens when someone dares to remove all that noise? When they strip away the constant need for external validation, the endless chatter, and the desperate search for belonging? They discover something terrifying: who they actually are. For most of us, this is a scarier prospect than any horror movie. We've become so adept at performing a role we think we should be that we've forgotten our authentic selves beneath the carefully constructed facade. But the man who loves being alone made a different choice. He looked at the world and recognized the performance for what it was. He saw that we're all actors in a play we didn't write, following rules dictated by marketing algorithms and chasing dreams that aren't even our own. He refused to play the game, not out of anger or depression, but from a place of clear, decisive truth. This is why society pushes so hard for constant connection and why loner is treated as a dirty word. The system knows that a man comfortable in his own skin cannot be controlled. He can't be sold insecurity wrapped in pretty packages. He doesn't need their products, their validation, or their permission to be happy. He has already achieved inner peace, and he didn't get it from a guru or a self-help book. He got it from the most radical act possible in our world, sitting alone with himself and refusing to run from what he found there. The power of authenticity. As the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer noted, a person can only be themselves when they are alone. Think about that for a moment. When was the last time you were truly alone, not just physically, but mentally, with no distractions? The man who loves solitude isn't afraid of that silence, he owns it. While others are fighting for attention, screaming to be heard, and desperately trying to fit in, he's in his quiet corner, building something extraordinary. He stands out not through desperate attention-seeking but through the quiet confidence of someone who knows his own worth. This man poses a threat to the system that has taught us that happiness comes from external sources, other people, possessions, and visible achievements. He's not a good consumer. He doesn't buy things to fill emotional voids, seek retail therapy, or chase status symbols. He's not addicted to the constant dopamine hits that keep most people's attention fractured and their wallets empty. He's economically dangerous because he is psychologically free. While others are renting their peace from approval and borrowing their self-worth from relationships, he owns his peace. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius understood this, writing that nowhere can a person find a more untroubled retreat than in their own soul. While many of us live as emotional slaves, our moods dependent on how others treat us, this man's emotional state is completely independent of external circumstances. He is genuinely happy, whether he's at a party or sitting alone in his room. The quiet art of creation. Here's what society gets wrong about the man who loves being alone: they think he's doing nothing. They're dead wrong. While others are busy consuming drama, opinions, and endless content, he is creating. He reads books that expand his mind, develops skills that fuel his purpose, and has deep, unfiltered conversations with himself. He's not doing any of this to prove a point. He's doing it because it feels right. When he stripped away all the noise, he discovered his authentic self, and that's who he is. Carl Jung called this process individuation, becoming who you truly are rather than who you think you should be. The man who loves solitude has faced his inner demons, fears, and imperfections and has made peace with them. He's looked into the real mirror, not the one with a filter, and accepted everything he sees. He isn't fragmented or fake, he's whole. That kind of authenticity is magnetic. Friedrich Nietzsche's famous quote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how," perfectly encapsulates this man's journey. Solitude has forced him to confront the big questions and find his why, what genuinely, deeply matters to him. He's no longer controlled by the crowd, he's free. He's building mental strength, emotional resilience, and authentic relationships without needing to post about it or seek applause. While others are performing, he is practicing. This man has figured out the biggest secret in human psychology: you don't need anyone else's permission to be happy. You don't need their approval to live your life, their understanding to make choices that feel right, or their validation to know your worth. Once you truly understand this, your entire relationship with the world transforms. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become the architect of your own experience. In a world saturated with the clamor of constant connectivity and the relentless pursuit of external validation, there exists a figure who stands apart. He is the man who loves being alone, a beacon of authenticity in an age of performance. Society, with its frantic need to categorize and control, often mislabels him as broken, antisocial, or weird. But they are profoundly mistaken. He is not just surviving, he is showing us what it means to be truly alive. He embodies a radical form of freedom in a world that profits from our enslavement to noise, approval, and distraction. This man has unlocked a truth that remains hidden in plain sight: the most profound power lies not in controlling the world around you, but in mastering the world within. While others are lost in a sea of social media likes, shallow conversations, and the desperate search for belonging, he is anchored in a deep sense of self. He declines party invitations not because of shyness, but because his time is a precious, finite resource. He doesn't feel the need to broadcast every meal, every thought, or every experience on a public platform because his life is for living, not for performing. When his phone dies, he doesn't panic, he simply enjoys the quiet. The great deception: a life lived for others. We have all been sold a script, a blueprint for a life we are told is normal and fulfilling. This script dictates that happiness is an external destination, a prize to be won through popular approval, material possessions, and constant busyness. We are taught to wake up and immediately check what everyone else is doing, to fill every quiet moment with external stimuli: podcasts on the commute, background chatter at work, the endless ping of notifications. We are conditioned to believe that silence is a void to be filled and that solitude is a form of punishment. This is the great deception. We are made to feel that we always need to be in motion, always with company, always seeking validation from others to feel a sense of self-worth. This frantic chase is not a path to happiness, it is a meticulously crafted cage built on insecurity. The system benefits from our dependence. It thrives on our fear of being alone, because a person who fears solitude is a perfect consumer, a perfect follower, and a perfect slave to the whims of the crowd. The uncomfortable revelation. Stripping away the noise. What happens when someone dares to break free from this script? What happens when they consciously remove the noise, the constant demand for validation, and the need to conform? They are left with something that most of us are terrified of: themselves. The man who loves being alone has faced this fear head-on. He has stripped away the layers of performance and pretense, and in the silence, he has discovered his authentic self. For most of us, this is a terrifying prospect. We have spent so long being who we think we should be that the person we actually are feels like a stranger. This man made a radical choice. He looked at the world and declared, "This is bullshit." Not in an angry, resentful way, but with the quiet clarity of someone who has seen through the illusion. He realized that we have been living someone else's story, following rules written by marketers, chasing dreams that aren't even our own. We are like actors who have forgotten they are acting, completely lost in a role that is slowly suffocating our true nature. This is precisely why society fears him. The man who is comfortable in his own skin cannot be manipulated or controlled. He doesn't need to be sold insecurity in a pretty package because he is already whole. He doesn't require permission from others to be happy. He has found inner peace, and he didn't get it from a guru, a self-help book, or a wellness retreat. He found it in the most radical act possible in our hyper-connected world. He sat alone with himself and refused to run. The anatomy of a free man, from consumer to creator. The system has trained us to be perpetual consumers. We consume products, entertainment, and the lives of others, all in an effort to fill a growing void inside us. But the man who loves being alone has reversed this equation. While others are busy consuming, he is creating. He is not mindlessly scrolling through a feed designed to keep him distracted and dissatisfied. He is reading books that expand his mind. He is developing skills that feed his soul. He is having deep conversations with himself, exploring his own thoughts and feelings instead of relying on the shallow chatter of the crowd. This man is dangerous to the consumer economy because he is not a good customer. He doesn't buy things to fill emotional voids. He doesn't need retail therapy, status symbols, or experiences designed to impress others. He is psychologically free, and his lack of need makes him economically untouchable. His freedom is not just mental, it's also physical. When you stop living in a state of constant stress about what others think, your nervous system relaxes. You sleep better because you're not replaying social interactions in your head. You eat better because you're listening to your body instead of eating socially. He isn't just mentally thriving. He's physically optimized. Redefining connection, quality over quantity. Many people believe that the man who loves being alone is antisocial or against connection. This is a fundamental misunderstanding. He is not against connection, he is against fake connection. He is not antisocial, he is anti-bullshit. He would rather have one real, deep conversation than 100 shallow ones. He values quality over quantity, and this is not just a saying, it is a way of life. His relationships are often deeper and more meaningful than most because he brings his whole self to them. He doesn't come with neediness, desperately trying to extract validation or security from others. He brings his complete, self-sufficient self. He chooses to connect, and choice is infinitely more powerful than need. When you are with him, you know it's genuine. When he cares about someone, you know it's real. He is dangerous to the dating and relationship advice industries because he is a testament to the fact that the best relationships are built not on mutual need, but on two whole individuals choosing to share their lives. The power of solitude, leadership, spirituality, and strength. True leaders are not made in boardrooms, they are forged in solitude. Leadership is not about controlling others, it is about mastering yourself. The man who loves solitude has spent years developing the most critical leadership quality, self-knowledge. He knows his strengths, his weaknesses, his motivations, and his fears. When someone understands themselves this deeply, they become incredibly effective and confident. Every major spiritual tradition has understood this secret. The path to enlightenment runs through solitude. Buddha found it under a tree alone. Jesus found it in the desert alone. Muhammad found it in a cave alone. This is not a coincidence. Truth can only be found in the silence, where the noise of the world and the clamor of the ego fall away. The man who loves solitude is spiritually dangerous because he has found peace, or truth, or God, and he didn't need an institution to get there. While the rest of the world is performing their lives on social media, he is building something real, mental strength, emotional resilience, and authentic relationships. He is building skills that come from deep practice, not superficial display. And he is doing it all without needing to tell anyone about it. He's not posting progress updates or fishing for compliments. He's just building. And when the world finally sees what he has created in his work, in his character, in his quiet confidence, they are shocked. They ask, where did this come from? The answer is simple: while others were performing, he was practicing. Most of us are slaves to distraction and don't even know it. We think we are free because we have a multitude of choices for entertainment and escape. But the man who loves being alone has figured out that true freedom doesn't come from having more choices, it comes from needing fewer of them. He doesn't need to be entertained every moment because he has learned to find joy in simple things. He doesn't need constant validation because he has learned to validate himself. He doesn't need to escape his thoughts because he has made peace with them. The man who loves being alone isn't just surviving, he is showing us what it means to be truly alive. He is a beacon of freedom in a world that profits from our enslavement. The answer to a more fulfilling life isn't out there, it's in here. And the journey to find it begins the moment you stop running from yourself and start running toward who you are meant to be. The quiet, solitary path is not one of loneliness, but one of profound discovery, strength, and authentic living. Are you ready to begin?